As educators, should we be acting as friends, parents, or professionals? Sometimes the line gets a little blurry. Stay tuned. I have the perfect analogy for you of freedivers and how that compares to teaching. Stay tuned and we'll get right down to it.
I was thinking about professional relationships, and I got to thinking about this documentary that I watched really recently about freedivers. They were in the ocean and they were diving just as deep as they could go while holding a single breath. At the very beginning, like within the first 10 seconds of the show, I was startled because this really good female diver, she takes her breath, she holds it, and the camera shows her go down. It follows her all the way down, and I'm just thinking, holy cow, I would have already died like 90 times over, but she's still swimming down. And then she goes into her free fall. Apparently, when you get down there so far, you just fall. That's weird, right? She gets to the spot that she's decided she's going to go to, and she turns around and she basically has to pull herself up on this rope. She's in the water, but she's pulling herself up with the rope. She's got to work, I guess, against gravity now. She gets pretty close to the top, and when she's pretty close to the top, there's some other divers, kind of their spotters, they're kind of around her. Like I said, this is the first minute of the documentary, so you don't really understand what's happening, but she's clearly struggling. The other divers are around her, and she's close to the top, but you can see that she's not going to make it. She's not going to make it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, the scuba divers are there to give her oxygen, but they don't do it. And she kind of jerks, and you can see that she's drowning. You can see she's drowning. And I'm appalled, and then the documentary kind of cuts, and I'm thinking, holy crap, they just showed a woman die. But then the documentary goes on, and it explains this whole situation about how these freedivers, they have these professional divers that dive with them, and they're there for their safety. They are typically freedivers themselves, but they are there not to give them air. It's common for these freedivers to pass out. And what they're doing when they're coming up to the top is, if they get to the point where they can't make it out, their job is to go up to them when they're essentially drowning. Their job is to go up to them, close their mouth, and get them to the top, even though the person has essentially passed out. But they hold their mouth shut so they can't drown. They do pass out, but they can't drown because they can't take any water in. So I got to thinking about that, and it's kind of, to me, like the biggest sign of respect you can have. When you respect someone to that point, they're not your friend. You don't want your friend being your spotter. You want somebody who knows what they're doing and is not going to freak out on you. That is professional respect right there. You also do not want your mama or your dad in there. You don't want that parental relationship in there, because can you imagine if your mom or your dad was the spotter in that relationship? They would never, ever let you do that. You have to have that professional boundary that says, I'm here for you, I've got your back, we're going to get you to the top in this very professional way. Clearly, as teachers, we're not plugging people's mouths. We're not plugging people's mouths so they don't die. But what we are doing is we are setting the stage for these kids of, I'm a professional, and you're creating that bond of respect where they know that you are in control of the classroom, they feel it, and therefore they trust you. Just as the freedivers trust their spotter, they wouldn't trust anybody with them. They don't want their mama there, they don't want their daddy there, they don't want their friend there. They want somebody that has a professional relationship with them there. And that's who they give respect to. You will find the same thing in the classroom. Your students don't want, you might think they do, but they don't want a friend. That's not what the relationship should be. You don't want a parent. You don't need to be their parent, and you don't need to be their friend. You need to have a professional working relationship with them because you are there to push them. You are there to educate them.